I'd like to introduce you to Senator Darren Bailey. He's been fighting for all of us, big time. He is definitely a superhero.
Well, God bless you guys. I'm sorry to have to slide in and speak and slide out because I love a good barbecue, and the smell of smoke usually brings me running. So I got to go back and finish packing, pick my bride up. We're headed to Godfrey tonight, and we'll be in Chicago at midnight tonight. So I can assure you that we're working our tails off across the state of Illinois, and I can assure you that people, I believe the silent and vast majority, are sick and tired of what's going on. So people are wanting to know what to do. Everywhere we go, there's people stepping up saying, I've never been to a political event before. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do here. Or, I've never voted, but I realize I have to. Or, I've been voting Democrat for the past, and I know that's not getting us anywhere. People are getting educated, they're getting informed, and they're getting active. And that's what we do here. This is kind of like church right here. We come here, it feels good because we're all like-minded, but if we go home and go to church tomorrow, go to work on Monday, some of you go to work tomorrow, when we have dinner, lunches with our family and with our friends, and if we do nothing, if we don't talk about the passion that you have here right now, then all this is for naught. We have got to stand up. We have got to push back, and we've got to inform and educate, and then hold accountable to make sure that our family and friends are going to show up to vote next year. One of the biggest things that I'm contending that you do is get involved in become a precinct committee person. It's we are, the state of Illinois is a two-party system right now, and that's just the way it is. So get involved in a conservative, Republican county committee. If you're from Bonn, Fayette, wherever you're from, get involved in that. If you don't like the way it is, change it. If you can do that, we can do that. That's why this country is so great. It just takes a few passionate people to make this happen. There's a lot of things coming down the pipeline for the election next year. Illinois Conservative Union, Leadership Institute, a couple of other organizations. My campaign is going to be helping to advertise for them. We're going to be bringing them in multiple times into our communities. They're going to teach us how to do precinct committee, how to do that job correctly. They're going to teach us how to do the responsibility of an election judge and a poll watcher correctly. Now, the interesting thing is that's not as important here as it is up there. And that's what we found out that we can do. Just because in Cook County, Will County, DuPage County, where a lot of this junk takes place, we can bring people from here and position them as poll watchers and election judges up there. We found out that many times throughout the years that Republicans aren't showing up for their duties. They're just about every county has about a 50% fill capacity on their precinct committee people. I don't know, and I'm sure they exist. I'm not aware of any county in the state that has a 100% fill rate on their precinct committee list. And the job of a precinct committee person is to, show up at the monthly meetings, stay informed of the candidates, get out, help candidates solicit signatures, your local candidates, not just state and federal, and then get out and make sure that the people in the precinct show up to vote. That is the highest duty. God bless anyone right here and right now that has served our country with the armed forces in peacetime or war. I don't care what you did. God bless you for putting your higher duty. And that's the reason that the men and women serve in our country. And it is the duty to vote. And when we usurp that duty and fail to carry that through, shame on us. And when we fail to carry that through, we find ourselves sitting here in the positions that we're in because conservative-minded, hard-working, freedom-loving Illinoisans have failed to show up for work. I can say that because that's me. That's about 4 years ago when I finally got sick and tired of these tax increases, when I began to be concerned about the men and women that work on our farm, when I began to get concerned about my children and my grandchildren and whether or not they were going to spend the rest of their lives in Illinois, because it's real. We all know people who have moved out. So we've got a mission here, friends, and it just entails, here I am. That's all it entails. It entails maybe another day a month somewhere, going to an evening, a few hours, showing up to a precinct committee meeting, and then get yourself educated, informed about how you can share, how you can learn, and what you can do to hold our elections, make sure that they are, make sure they are straight and right. Because instead of the things that we're doing right now, we're talking about, last election still 6-8 months later. No, we've got to deal with this in real time, and the mechanism is there. We've just simply got to get educated, and we've got to show up and be there, and it can be done. We'll be educating you on that process over the next several months. I'm sure you all know that the primary is June 28th, and so we've got quite a bit of time. But we're not going to waste any time. All this, the Illinois Conservative Union, they've started an advertising program right now. So we will be advertising. I'm sure if you're not already watching our Facebook page, BaileyForIllinois.com, or my web page and my Facebook page, I keep you updated continually on what I learned. Prior to coming over here, I was on with a Facebook Live group with a bunch of friends in Chicago that at 10 o'clock every Saturday they get together and they just talk about the problems, and they talk about solutions. And it's been an honor to be a part of that. So, like I said, the momentum is growing, the movement's growing. These things that we do, these things that I do, got two wonderful men here that were part of this process of suing the governor. I want to make sure they'll probably address this. Listen, nothing's been overturned or dismissed, okay? Really, for the most part, everything's just kind of been ignored. In the past, I've talked to both of these gentlemen about the possibilities of, holding the governor in contempt or whatever. They'll talk more about this. It's really not necessary, because he has no form of enforcement to do what he's doing. But with that being said, he's sly, and there's ways to maneuver. We found out how important it is to have a Republican state's attorney in our counties, because when these people come into your business, your church, or your school, and they write these tickets, the state's attorney can just tear that up and throw it in the trash can. We found out how important it is to have a Republican sheriff, okay? We found out how important it is to have God-fearing, constitutional, freedom-loving Americans serving in government. So now we have got to get informed and educated and involved ourselves. We used to send people to City Hall or to the county courthouse or to Springfield or to Washington, and we'd pat them on the back and we'd say, go get them. What happened? 4, 6, 8, 10, 15 years later, we're like, what happened here? Because the system's pretty cruel, and if you don't have a backbone, the system will swallow you. And the next thing you know, taxes keep going up and our freedoms keep going down. That's what's got to change. So I assure you, and I think most of you here know who I am, know what I'm about. We're going to work like crazy. We're going to be all over this state. I'm a farmer. I could stay as a senator if I wanted to be a career politician. I've term limited myself to 10 years. I could stay those 10 years. I could have served for 10 years as state rep, moved over to the Senate, served for 10 years there. There's 20 years of my life gone, been a career politician. I could have done that. I come from the safest district, the 55th Senate District and the 109th Representative District in the state of Illinois. There's their voting block. There's no other more conservative voting block than those two districts. So I could stay there if I wanted to. I feel so certain that I am going to be elected as the next governor, that's my wife and I put it all on the line. We're out there. Many people say, well, you've got until January and you can back off and run for Senate if you want to. I said, no, that's not going to happen. We're in this because we know we can win it, and we know that because we've already been all across the state and met wonderful people like you. So to that in mind, I say, keep doing what you're doing. Don't back down. I can remember a couple of things with the lawsuit back when I signed on to HR 101. Just many things that I've done when I walked into got kicked out of session for the mask. People would call and the press would call and they'd say, that's kind of some crazy ideas. Are you doing this for a popularity contest? And I said, no, I'm doing this because I want to be free. There's a passion. There's something right here in my heart that tells me this is the right thing to do. And they'd kind of carry it on, and they'd say, you know, but why? And one particular person said, this is kind of silly. And I said, well, you're right. It probably is kind of silly, some of these things we're doing. But I want to remind you of something, and I'll leave you with this. About 260 years ago, some men and women dressed up like, full-grown men and women dressed up like Indians. They got on this boat, and they threw tea in the river, in a harbor. I said, that was kind of silly, wasn't it? What do you think people thought about that? I said, we're back to these days to where we have to do everything and anything within our means to protect, to preserve, and to retake our freedoms. So that's where I'm at. I'm all in with this. I look forward to BaileyForIllinois.com. Look us up, invite us to your churches. Your groups like this will come up. I want to encourage you to let you know it is doable in the state of Illinois. It's doable. Otherwise, I'd go back to the farm. I'd go back. I left. One of my grandkids stopped by. One of my sons and his wife stopped by with my granddaughter that I hadn't seen in 2 weeks, and I had to squeeze her and head out. I'm not anti-mask. I'm not anti-vaccine. If you want vaccinated, I've helped a lot of people get their vaccines. You're just not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
If I don't want to wear my mask, you're not going to tell me I have to. Yeah, so, to your point, and that's at 9:30 this morning, I kind of got on and made a last-minute plea. You know, freedom's not free. It costs.
Yes.
Many of you, and when we say that, many times we talk about the men and women who serve in our armed forces. You put your, peacetime or not, you put your life on the line, you're there. Well, here we are. Life's been pretty comfortable for us. Back to the whole point that when I said I wouldn't have been here 5 years ago because I was busy working and sick of politics. Freedom isn't free. So, with that being said, if your school board goes and defies against the populace, if people show up at the meetings, and what you need to do, you need to call personally, talk to your school board members, put them on the line, try to get a commitment out of them. Then you need to show up at the school board meetings. Call 10 days ahead of time to get on the agenda. That's important. If you can get on the agenda, they can act on your request. But if you can't, that's okay. Show up. All school boards have to, meetings are open. They have an open time of meeting. If they put you to the very back of the meeting and they go into several hours of closed session, shame on them. Just be prepared to run against them later. Show up. Talk to your school board. If the school boards say, children got to wear a mask next year, freedom isn't free. You've got a choice to make. Do you put a mask on your child, send them to school, or do you pull them out, homeschool them, or send them to a private school?
The realization is they cannot kick your child out of school for not wearing a mask.
Well, push the issue. Stand up, push the issue. So they're going to try. Local law enforcement, local enforcements aren't going to know what to do. There's going to be a lot of confusion. Freedom isn't free. Stand up for your rights. I encourage that. Colleges. I'm getting a lot of calls from parents who are getting ready to enroll their children into four-year universities, and they're saying, they got to be vaccinated or I can't.
Governor Bailey
BaileyForIllinois.com. Put this in here where it belongs. Oh. All right. Then put this back over here.
Are we about ready for lunch? We ready?
All right.
Well, we got a music break anyway.
We're going to have a music break. Mr. Brandon
We're ready to
Gatton
start lunch.
of the Machine Radio Show going to start lunch as well. Is that what you just said?